Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Business with me, Suseth. Let's Talk is where we sit and we talk all about businesses, the ups, the downs, and all the challenges. Today I have a super special guest joining me, Michelle Davis. So Michelle is the owner and CEO of MVD Consultant. They are a business management firm. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Suzanne, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So happy to be here. Thanks so much
Oh,
for
thank
having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I was giving you an intro, but since you're here and prompt, I love that. I'll let you introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Davis. I am the CEO of my own consulting firm, MVD Consulting Inc. Not-for-profit organizations and businesses hire me to help with their diversity, equity, and inclusion work, as well as research and evaluation. I also help a lot of Black-owned businesses and not-for-profit leaders find funding. So I've kind of developed this niche for helping people find and win grants. So
Which is awesome. We're going to talk a lot about that today. So thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining me again on this cold Thursday. Actually, today's
yeah,
pretty nice.
it
It's not
was.
too bad.
Yeah.
That is, you're pretty mild. Okay, it's been cold all week, but thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about grants and everything that Michelle does. So, Michelle, how long have you been in business for, and why did you get into consulting?
Mhm. So I started my company in 2016
Mhm.
during a period of unemployment. So, but it was kind of rocky. I didn't really know what I was doing.
Mhm.
Someone at the very last minute took a contract from me. And then I'm like, okay, I have no income for the summer. And I've got my son, I've got my mortgage, I've got my car payment. So an employer offered me a position, so I took that. But I
Mhm.
went back with a really heavy heart. So
Mhm.
worked there, and then like many people in 2020 in the fall, I'm just like, you know what? God told me it's time to move. I didn't send you here in this comfortable job with this good paycheck and good benefits for you to be here forever. So
Mhm.
I started back on my grind, and in the last year and a half, I've been full time in my business.
Oh,
And
congrats.
yeah, yeah, I love, and why I started. One of the reasons because I just wanted freedom of time, so I could go to my son's basketball games in the middle of
Mhm.
the day, or take a Friday off and drive him and his friends to their games wherever they go. Because I am a really proud basketball mom,
Aw,
right?
I love that.
And I just wanted time to do what I wanted to do. I'm tired of the micromanagement, tired of the bullying, harassment in the workplace. I wanted to
Mhm.
work
Yeah.
independently, and anyway, I was more than capable
Yeah.
to do it.
Good for you. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. Congratulations, a year and a half. I see it's possible. A lot of times we think that so many things are impossible. And I want to talk to you about a little bit about that transition from working to doing your business full time. And then we can get into the really good stuff about the grants and the DEI. So kind of briefly, tell me, how did you go about, so you said that you were, time is just that you're at probably the peaks of your job. You're like, I'm done. I want to leave. But kind of talk to me about the transition from
Mhm.
full time to doing your business full time. Because a lot of people always say to me, I'm tired of my job. I want to quit. I want to leave, but I don't have enough money. I'm not sure. And there's that security, obviously, a certain amount of security, because it's not secure. They can fire you whenever you
Yeah.
want. So a lot of people feel secure and comfortable in their job, but that's not really the case. So kind of tell me about when you knew the exact moment where like, no, this is it. I'm going to go and pursue my business full time, and how you kind of went about that.
Yeah. So in the fall of 2020, I started planning. So previously it was a period of unemployment, so I was kind of forced into it, and looking for a job. I wasn't finding what I wanted. So I then put out a plan. I said, I want to be able to do this full time in a year. So I gave myself to the end of the next year to be able to complete it. So then I made sure that my finances were right. I paid down any debt that I had. I increased my emergency savings. I paid off my car loan because I didn't want to have to deal with that when
Mhm.
I'm in business. So I researched health benefits because I have to pay those myself. I decided, oh, maybe I will incorporate when I'm doing full time with some of the benefits. So I really spent 12 months planning but I was also working. So, I had my employer's laptop on the left side of my desk, and I had my own
Oh,
laptop doing my own thing on the right side because I was working remotely. So I took full advantage of that. So,
good for
and
you.
I was able to transition. I had everything lined up. I was at peace. Um, so the transition for me was quite smooth. And I knew when I was ready to go that I had that foundation. I had made a really strong foundation to be able to transition.
Good for you. So 12 months of planning. So Michelle did the opposite of what I did. She planned everything out. I had some money saved
Right.
up to last me what I thought would be, about 6 months. I blew through it because I didn't pay off my car, and then my car needed some repairs, and then everything that you could think happened, and that money that I thought would last me 6 months blew through quickly. And I didn't do much planning at all. I share this story all the time. I was done with my job. I remember I kissed my teeth on the phone, and I was like, "Whoa, this is time to go." I didn't even mute myself. I'm like, "Oh boy, this is time for me to quit."
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just done. I think I gave about a month, and then I left. Like I said, I didn't have much of a plan, but I had to force myself into a plan thereafter when things kind of went downhill for me. So, guys, if you're looking to transition, don't do what I did. Okay, don't do what I did. Michelle took 12 months of planning. So she saved money, and you planned out everything. You looked at the industry, the market, and kind of figured everything out. So it takes time. Don't think that, you kiss your teeth today and tomorrow you're going to quit your job. Don't do it, guys. Take it from me. All right. So thank you for sharing that. All right. We're going to talk about the services and products. So you kind of mentioned briefly some of the services that you offer. Can we talk a little bit about the diversity? So fractional chief diversity, equity, inclusion officer. That's a mouthful. Okay, so that's a new service that you're now
Yeah.
offering. Kind of walk me a little bit through that and how that helps your
Yeah,
clients.
absolutely. So what I really enjoy is when I'm able to go into an organization and work with them over a long term. Because of course, if trying to be an equitable workplace and an equitable organization, it doesn't happen overnight. So what I do with this new service, I can work with one organization I've been working with for 2 years, and we're kind of winding down now. And so I go in and you kind of hold hands, kind of figure out what it is, where they are, understand where they are, what has happened. I might do some listening circles with their BIPOC staff or stakeholders, find out what harms have been done, try and deal with that. Then I'll help them put together their DEI plan. So what does that look like? What are your values that are going to underpin this plan? What are the principles that are going to drive this work? Then we'll put together an action plan. What are some of the key goals that you want to achieve, let's say, for the next 3 years? When are you going to do them? And who is going to be responsible for that? So in terms of accountability, who's doing what? And when the ball gets dropped, who's going to be, say, yeah, I own that. I'll also, put together an advisory council, an advisory committee to really help people plan out their DEI, develop some key metrics, because if you don't know where you're going if you're not measuring. So ensuring that the metrics are in place, how are you going to measure it, and then help them get them going. So with one client, when they called myself and a colleague in, the two white women leaders, they were kind of really nervous, they were apprehensive, they were uncertain, but they knew that they needed to move. They knew that they needed to respond to these accusations of anti-Black racism. So we came in and we got them going, and within a year, you wouldn't believe the transformation, I should say, that they're confident, that they're leading, that they feel more certain. They may make mistakes, but they're okay with that because they know how to own them, right? And then continue moving. So that's what I'm doing with that, working with organizations on a deeper level, on a longer term level, not that one-off workshop that, they send you to, or they send you to online, that deeper ongoing.
I've done a few of those. Yeah. Well, that's perfect. So that's a new service that you added to the many services that you now offer. So thank you for sharing that. So Michelle, explain for everyone that's coming in what's DEI.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
There you go. Okay, guys. So in case any of you guys were wondering. So another service that you offer, which I'm pretty sure most people are here for, is strategic planning and grant writing. Okay, so I saw that you had a workshop, a webinar recently on how to write a successful grant application. So maybe speak a bit more about that, like what exactly is entailed with grants, because I have so many people that call me, Sue, I need some money.
Yeah.
I want a grant. And it's like, it's not, some grants are pretty easy, but most of them you have to go through an entire process. So maybe you can walk us through briefly the process of applying for grants.
Absolutely. So yeah, there is funding available even for businesses, particularly small businesses, but understanding the granting process is important. So a second client I've had for the past 2 years is a national foundation. So I've helped them administer and grant $85 million across the country to over almost 800 organizations. So I've been able to see what the granting process is like, kind of behind the curtains. So once you hit submit on the application, there's a whole process that happens. So what I've been able to understand and share with people is exactly what funders are looking for. So they want to ensure that your work is aligned with their mission and their values. Right? They want to ensure that you can deliver on the work that you say you're going to do. So they're looking for diversity, equity, inclusion. So how do you work with marginalized communities? This is a big one in grants. People think I'm joking. There will be a question on the grant application asking exactly that. So so those are some of the key things that you want to keep in mind when you're writing your grant applications. You also want to ensure that you are concise, right? So sometimes we think that you have to have a university degree or university degrees to write grant applications. But sometimes people who have an academic background like myself, sometimes we're not the best grant writers because we want to wax on and on and on. But there's only like a 200-word limit, right? With most grant applications that are on now, you are limited. So you have to be to the point. And also remember that most grant reviewers will maximum 15 minutes they're taking to read your application.
Really?
So you gotta get it quickly. They're looking at it quickly. You have to get to what you're saying, get to the point as quick as you can. So sometimes instead of a paragraph, use a bulleted list. Use a numbered list. Because again, I know very clearly what it is that you're doing. So for example, your project activities and your timeline. 1, May 2023, we're gonna hire a project coordinator. 2, June 2023, we're going to do this, etc. So those are some of the things that I talked about in the webinar and that I really help people to understand. And because those are things that I do when I write grants. That's exactly how I write applications. And so I tend to have a lot of success with the applications that I
It's almost like a resume, right? A lot of times, like I remember my resume used to be 4 pages long, and my sister saw it and she's like, this is nonsense. What is this? And she cut out like so many things. She goes, it's too wordy. Let's get to the point and let's tailor it. So being concise and tailoring it to that grant. A lot of times people think that, okay, I'm going to write, one grant proposal, and I'm going to use that across the board. No, well, grants are very specific to who they're helping. And as you mentioned, you want to make sure that you're aligned with their mission and their vision. So is it safe to say that someone should do their research about the company that they're applying for the grant prior to applying for a grant?
Absolutely, Suseth. Do your research, understand who they are, the kind of work that they do, the kind of projects that they tend to fund. They'll usually list, past recipients, past organizations they funded. Also read their grant guidelines. You should not write an application unless you have read through those guidelines, because that's going to tell you who's eligible. Maybe you're not eligible, right? And really don't even bother. Sometimes you think, oh, maybe sort of, kind of, I'm eligible. Unless you're 100%, don't bother, because it's an easy no, because most funders get way more applications than they can fund. So they kind of need to screen out people quickly. You're not eligible, don't bother applying. Then you want to go through the guidelines to understand what activities are eligible. So for example, many grants they won't fund capital expenses. So you can't buy,
Oh.
right? You can't buy a car, you can't buy land, you can't buy a building. Sometimes even like equipment, sometimes they won't cover that. So read through the guidelines, understand who's eligible, which activities are eligible, when do you have to report? You have to do a midterm and a final report. So read those things through before you start writing your.
Okay, I didn't even think about it. That makes sense. So do they actually verify? So say for example, you're applying for a grant and you say you need it for, I don't know, whatever it is you say you need it for. Do they actually verify after they give you the money to make sure that that money was utilized and allocated to that purpose?
Well, yes and no. So yes, in your final report, they'll verify it that way, or in your midterm report. Some funders ask for, halfway through your granting period, you have to submit a report. But in your grant agreement, there is also a clause where they say that they have the right to audit you up to X number of years after. So
Okay.
they can come back and say, we need to see your books. Okay, yeah, your
Okay.
receipts are nice, but we want to see how you allocated it in your books. So yeah,
Okay.
they
That's
can
good
and
to know.
will verify it.
That's good to know. So, to kind of sidetrack a little bit, I had got a grant from the Starter Plus company, and I know you just got in. How's it going so far?
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, really
Good. It's
enjoying
really
it.
informative.
Yeah, very, very. The training was
Very
good.
informative. There was
Yeah.
some stuff that I already knew already, but like some other stuff that I didn't know, and I like the fact that you get that learning lesson as well, like, and they kind of walk you through it. But even with that application, I'm in a different district the one that I applied for, so I don't know if it's the same thing as yours, but we had to show proof as to what the same thing you're talking about. What activities are you going to use this money for? So I know marketing was one of them. So I had to put down what type of marketing I had intended to use that money for. And I had to itemize everything on the application to say that, I'm a new business in the area and I need to go heavy on marketing because, to make people know that I'm around. And I had to break down everything to show them, what I was going to use that money for. So, guys, if you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Michelle Davis. We're talking about grant application. Michelle can help you with grant writing. Michelle, do you actually write grants yourself too? You mentioned that you actually write grants
I
as
do.
well.
I try not to do too many because I
I look
try.
in your face. Woo!
I try
I
not.
know
So
that.
I really like teaching people so that you can go and do it yourself. And even the webinar we had a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, like I shared my screen and went through an application question by question by
I love
question.
that.
The people had a really, by the end, people had a really good understanding of how to write a really good application.
Yeah, I saw that. Unfortunately, missed it, but
Yeah.
hopefully, you're going to have any more grant writing
I
webinars.
might. We're seeing, what other things do people want us to talk about in a
Yeah.
grant, right?
Do
But I can send
you
you
do you
the
offer?
presentation. I can send
Oh,
you the
sure. Oh, well, yes, that'd be perfect. Thank you. Do you do like one-on-ones too? So say, for example, a specific grant came up and it's just like way above my head and I'm having difficulties. Do you provide one-on-one service where you can sit down and walk someone through a grant application?
Absolutely. I can absolutely do that, walk you through it. Or even if you've like written a draft,
Mhm.
you could send it to me and I'll take a look at it and give you some feedback.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. So it's like kind of do it
Yeah.
yourself and then you can kind of audit it and see exactly. Okay. So guys, lots of gems, okay? Lots of gems. When you're applying for grants, okay, you want to make sure that you're aligned with the company's mission and value, okay? So you want to make sure that whatever service or product that you're applying for your business, that you're aligned with the company. I posted one today, actually, the Total Mom Pitch. Have you heard of that one
I
before?
saw that one recently. Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks good.
it's a pretty big one, $50,000. I think what I was reading, it's only one winner. So, it's a larger sum, but then you have a larger amount of people that are applying for it. So you have to come correctly. And that's where Michelle is dropping all the gems on how to apply for a grant and make sure that you're successful. Well, not to make sure, but give you a better chance at being successful. We can't make any promises. Obviously, it depends on the client in the end. Someone asked a question, Ladine,
Mhm.
how much should you budget for grant writers if you hire someone to write for you?
Good question. So most grant writers charge an hourly rate, probably $50 to $60. And some people may take 3 or 4 hours per application. So yeah,
Mhm.
kind of a roundabout figure.
Okay. Good. So it all depends because certain grants are much longer. Like that Total Mom pitch, they require you to actually do a pitch. So it's not just you writing about why you should get the money. You actually have to pitch to the company. So
Mhm.
the other thing you mentioned is being concise. Okay, they don't want anybody who's writing a long essay. They're going through hundreds, if not thousands, of applications, guys. It's just like a job. Applying for a job. There's so many people out there going for it, especially grants are essentially free money. So imagine the large number of people that are applying. You want to be concise. You want to make sure that you're on point, that you are aligned with their mission and vision, right? So Michelle, what are some of the common mistakes that business owners make when they're applying for grants?
Mhm. So one is ineligible activities. So um, even one that I applied for, they finally got back to me maybe last week, earlier this week, and said, oh, and it wasn't even an activity that I wasn't eligible because I'm a business to business, I'm B2B. And this grant was for B to C or D to C. So you sell directly to consumers. So I
Mhm.
wasn't eligible. And I'm like, what? I missed that?
Oh,
Oh, I
okay.
totally missed that, right? So, you just want to ensure that you're eligible because again, it's almost like, you're looking for ways to say no because you have too
Yeah.
many applications, right? So
Yeah.
ensure that you are eligible to apply and ensure that the activities that you want to fund are eligible. So read those grant guidelines. So a lot of time people don't read the guidelines. Another thing is that, yeah, people just write too much. Like they're just
Mhm.
telling too much. Like, all nice information, but we just need to get to what we need to get to. So again, be focused, but still tell your story. Tell
Mhm.
your story, but tell it in a way that, it's to the point, 2 to 3 sentences at the most. And also ensure that what you say in your application is consistent. So the activities that you want, make sure that that is consistent with your budget, for example. So for
Mhm.
some writing applications, I'll write the budget first, then I'll go and write the narrative. Because if I say I'm going to hire a project coordinator, I'm going to do online marketing, I want to make sure that I speak to that in the grant. So sometimes you might want to do the budget first and then jump back and then write the story about the activities that you're requesting. So those
Oh,
are the common ones. Those are some of the common ones.
yeah, okay. That makes perfect sense. Okay. So right now, is there any grants that you can kind of tell people about?
Mhm.
So I mentioned the Total Mom Pitch one. I made a post about that. Is there any other ones that are currently going that you can encourage our audience to go and check out?
Absolutely, great question. So the one is a starter company grant. So the city of Toronto has opened up again. So Suseth mentioned she's gotten it. I got one in the fall for women entrepreneurs, and it's a great grant. So the city's having a webinar on March 8th, or no, I think March 9th. So go to the cities. If you're in Toronto, you have to be, your business has to be, you have to reside in Toronto. Um, to be eligible. It's $5,000, so not a lot of money, but it's enough, right? It's enough
So
to do marketing. It pays for my virtual assistant for 2 months. Right? So it's not a ton of money, but you also, as Suzette and I talked about earlier, you get really great training. So I had
yeah.
6 sessions. The presenter was incredible. I met with her last week about a new product I'm going to be launching and wanted to talk to her about pricing. How do I figure that out? And she said, Michelle, stay in touch with me. My training
Aw.
is open to you. Yeah, really great training. And they had a networking session last Friday downtown
Yeah.
at Metro Hall. So it was really nice to go, and I met a really number of really great people. Someone I'm gonna meet with tomorrow, another person next week. So definitely apply to that. And at the end, the output of those 6 sessions is your business plan. So
Yes.
all of us are supposed to have a business plan, but most of us don't have no business plan.
Yeah.
We don't write no business plan. We don't know nothing about no business plan.
Yeah.
This,
I talk about it
right?
all the time. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get, at the end, you have to submit, to get the money, you have to submit a completed business plan, they mark it, and you have to pass.
And they
So
show you how to do it. They actually
yes,
walk you through the section
yeah,
too. Yeah. So guys, it's not always about the money. I know a lot of times people are talking about, okay, it was only $5,000, but I mean that's still like so holy. Like you said, it can cover everything like that.
right.
Shoot, give me $5,000. Mine
No,
was four. I noticed that every year they increase it because the year before was three, and then mine was four,
oh,
and this year, yeah, mine was only four last year. So or maybe it's just the area. No, I saw it because they have it open now and it's 5,000.
okay.
So that's one that you want to make sure that you get into. And it was fairly easy.
Yes.
The process
Okay,
wasn't
so
too hard.
yes,
Yeah, you just
yes,
talked about, I think I literally did it in about like an hour and a half.
right.
But again, if you have an idea of how you're running your business, it was pretty easy. So it's open now for I guess
Yes,
spring.
yes.
Because we reside in you physically have to reside in Toronto or your business. I think the one I did was the
I
business.
was going to tell someone about it, but her business is in Toronto, but she doesn't live in Toronto. You have to be a resident of Toronto.
You have to
Resident,
be okay.
yes.
Okay, because I think everyone's different. The one
Yeah,
that I did in Lindsay, because I don't live there, but my business is up there.
right.
So the business, yeah. So I'm not, yeah,
Maybe
yeah. So that one it maybe is different by the area.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So that's a really good
So
one. So definitely, if you're in Toronto, you have your business in Toronto, check that one out. A second
mhm.
one is the summer Canada Summer Job Grant. So up to $3,000 for students to start a business. 3,000.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's a really great. They were talking about it at the networking event. They've had it. Toronto's had it for over 20 years now. It's become a model across the province. Many other towns and cities or regions offer it. So if young people, any young people on the call, any young people in your life, tell them to apply. I know my son couldn't find a job last summer. And
mhm.
why don't you think about doing that? And he's like, well, what can I do? And we started talking about some ideas. Maybe you could offer, you're really good at basketball. Maybe you offer a 1 week basketball camp for some young people. Oh my God, young people, well, you gotta do some marketing, child. This is what you got to do. So it's it was a really great conversation,
Yeah, yeah.
right? To start getting him thinking about that. So
The young
$3,000,
entrepreneurs.
yeah. Yeah, and I
Oh,
can't remember when the deadline is. It's coming up though, so that's a really good one for young people who want to try their hand
the
at. And
name of that one
Canada
called again?
Canada Summer Company Grant. Sorry,
Yeah, okay. Are these grants on your website by any chance, or
I have
is
a
there a way to can?
list of grants. So even in my bio, you can click on the link in the bio and take you to the list of an Excel, Google sheets that we have,
Yes.
where we update with lots of grants. So that's another.
Okay, good, perfect. Guys, listen, Michelle is doing most of the work for you, okay? So if you need to apply for a grant, because so many people tell me that, okay, Michelle, now I know. So Michelle has a link in her bio that has all the links of current grants that you can apply for. So you have to make sure that you qualify. Don't just go and apply for any grant willy-nilly. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. They will reject you. Okay, if you're having some difficulties with applying, Michelle can help you. Some of the key points, if you guys are just joining in with grant writing, is that you want to make sure that you're aligned, your mission, sorry, that your business is aligned with the mission and values of the companies, and that you talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, that's really, really, really big. Okay, really big in this this day and age. So you want to make sure that somehow you can incorporate that into your plan, and you want to make sure that your grant writing, your grant application is concise. Don't be wordy and don't add the fluff. This is not, grade 12 essay writing where you have to come up with the words and fluff it up a bit. No, you want to be concise and direct because they're going through the applications. They want to see, are you a hit or a miss? Okay. So thank you so much for sharing that, Michelle. And so let's talk about, the obvious. What are some of the benefits to getting grants for businesses? Obvious, but
Yeah.
let's just talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So again, it's the money, right? We all need the money. We're in business. We have overhead. We have expenses. So a grant can help with that. It can help even with things like I added in my starter company grant. I put in some professional learning because when you're at a company, you have a little pot of money every year. You can go for training. Business owners, we tend not to think about that, but we have to always be learning. We have to be growing. So even, you could cover, maybe you want to go to a conference, right? It could cover whether locally or even, maybe out somewhere else. Maybe can cover your registration fees. So it can cover some of the overheads of the day-to-day operations of the business. The second benefit is really about some of the training. So we talked about some great training we got. Both Suseth and I got through the Starter Company grant. So often there's opportunities for us to access training, resources, mentors, business advisors. So that's usually part of the package that companies or government or whomever is offering. And I think one is a third, key benefit is it forces you to really think about your business.
Yes.
Right?
The questions they ask you, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Right. So in our business owners, we carry this in our head. We carry it in our heart. It's our business, and our business is our baby, right? But when we have to explain who we are, what we do, why we do what we do to someone else, it really gives you reason to pause, to think. And that's also the benefit of having a business plan, because you have to think. You're forecasting your sales. What does this mean? What percentage of my revenue will be from this product or this product? It forces you to stop and think. So I would also say the process of grant writing also forces you to think, to just pause and to think about your business and what you're doing. So those are some of the big benefits, but there can be other, maybe the networking.
Yeah. Yes, that's really big too. Yeah. Yeah. That's really big too.
Yeah. That's another big one.
You mentioned something. That last part you mentioned is really important because forcing you to think about your business. A lot of times, I talk about this all the time, business owners, we have ideas and then we're like, ooh, I'm going to start this business. And we don't really think down the road, okay, I'm starting this business. What do I need? What is it going to cost me? You do your SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats? And that's what business planning, grant writing can help you with, because they want to know. They're not going to hand money out for you willy-nilly just so to anybody because it's cute. That's not, no, cuteness doesn't work. Okay, it does not, trust me. They want to know, are you legit, and what plans do you have for your business? And that's what's going to set you apart in your application, is when you have solid, concise answers and you're aligned with them. So I'm saying the same thing over and over again because it's super important, and that's what's going to set you apart versus you wasting time to say, I had a business idea and I like it and people like it, so give me some money. It's not going to work. That's not, no. So, and the other thing you mentioned about having mentorship of the Starter Plus program, that's a program that Michelle and I both got in. There was grants. Michelle got 5,000, I got 4. And the benefits there are also you get mentorship, you get coaching, you have to write a business plan, but they walk you through it. So even that in itself is money. So even though the grant was, $4,000 and $5,000, at the end of the day, to write a business plan, you know how much I charge to write a business plan? Because it's a lot of work, okay? And so if you have a service that's helping you do that, you have a business coach, you have mentorship that you're getting inclusive of that grant. They're basically paying you to learn. Yes. You can't go wrong. Yes. You can't go wrong, So guys, a lot of times you guys always come into my DM, Sue, I need grants, I need money. Yeah, I need money too. It's a lot of work. I do not do grant writing. I don't do that. It's a lot of work. Michelle is the one that can assist you with that. So you can reach out to her. And in closing, Michelle, oh wait, sorry, there was another question. My bad, hold on. I'm missing questions. Where do we find grants? Okay, so Icebreaker, you asked that question. So Michelle, you want to answer that again?
Sure.
Where they can find grants?
Definitely. So I curate a list of opportunities for businesses and not-for-profit organizations in Ontario. You can find it in the link in my bio. It's a Google Sheet we update, and my assistant updates it monthly, so it's always current. But also another thing you can do, and what I taught people in the webinar, is start following funders. So if there's a government department, or that there's a foundation that has a grant that you're interested in, start following them. Or what I say, even better yet, go to their website and sign up for their newsletter. They all send out monthly newsletters, and then when there's a new grant, that information comes to you right in your inbox. On the social media. So I like the newsletter thing because it comes right to my box. So even before they announce it on social media, it will come in your inbox. And so, and my assistant will tell you, I sign up for lots of newsletters. Just so I'm in the know. I know what's going on in terms of funding. So another thing you can do, sign up for the newsletter. It'll come straight to you in your inbox. Then you'll know when is the deadline. Do they have a webinar where they're talking about the grant? You'll get all that information in that monthly newsletter.
Yeah, a lot of companies, organizations like Michelle, will walk you through how to apply for a grant because it can be tedious, especially the bigger grants. They get very, very tedious because they have a larger number of people applying for it. So you want to make sure that you're applying for it correctly and concisely. So somebody also asked, and we were talking about the Starter Plus company that you have to reside in Toronto, and they're asking, does that include surrounding areas such as Durham?
So you have to be within the actual city of Toronto, but the Starter Company grant is funded by the government of Ontario. So Suseth didn't get hers in Toronto or even where she lives. She got it where her business is. So it's available in different parts of the province. So check out you said Durham, check out Durham region. Go on the government page and see what they have.
Okay.
Most regions do offer it as well.
Okay. Another question, is it possible to get the same grant multiple times? Oh, good question.
Good question. So sometimes.
Really?
Sometimes.
Really?
Multiple, yeah. There's one I just got for the organization I volunteer with. We've gotten it a few times.
Under the same, like you applied under the same business name and got it, yeah?
Yeah, so as long as you have to be different activities, like they will fund the same activities. So
okay.
Usually, but not all funders are like that. So like Starter Company grant, you can only get it once. It's starter. You're supposed to get you on your way, go and make money. But some of the other ones, sometimes you can apply for it more than once. But most funders, so in your application, you have to talk about how you're going to be sustainable. Because they don't want to make an investment in your business and then in 6 months, there's no more business. They want to know that you have a plan. So that's why the business plan is important. You have a plan in terms of growing, of scaling, of increasing your sales, generating more revenue. And you also want to talk about that, demonstrate that in your application. Again, this is how you stand out. You've already thought about how you're going to grow your business so that in 3 years you're making $1 million, for example. So that's really the kinds of businesses that funders want to invest in, are the ones that have a clear plan that is realistic, it's measurable, all that good stuff. And so talk about that as well in your application.
Okay, so you guys hear that? Some grants, some companies will allow you to get multiple grants as long as it's different activities, which makes sense because it's like I need this money for this activity. But not all grants are like that. So you have to read again that fine print. There's usually quite a bit to make sure that you qualify. Quite a number of questions coming in. All right. With our dear economy, do you think more small grants will become available for small businesses?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good question. I think so. Probably, most likely. But there may also be things like, because as a business, not only do you want cash, but you also want tax credit. We don't want to pay so much tax. So there may be a tax credit that may be available. So there may be other incentives. If you have staff, there might be a payroll deduction that might be introduced. And the governments like to do that because they don't have to dole out cash, but they can make it easier for us at tax time when we have to file our taxes. So there may be more grants depending on what happens in the economy. I think particularly in Q2 and Q3, what happens this year. If inflation starts to come down, then we can all breathe a little bit easier. If inflation stays stagnant and be the bit more stubborn, then we might see something coming out maybe for the fall. So everyone pay attention to the federal budget, right? We're coming into a new fiscal year. we have to pay attention to what politicians are doing and
Mhm.
make voices known. We have to make our voices known as business owners that we need some funding, we need support. Make sure you are, you are talking to your politicians and that you are. I joined the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses. Hello, please. Yes, I joined it. Why? Because it's 95,000 small business owners across Canada. Government listens to them.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that person asked that question because we are a voice. Because small business is kind of the backbone in Canada. We
Mhm.
always think of corporations, but small
Mhm.
businesses is the backbone of most countries' economy.
Yeah.
So government has to listen to us because we create jobs, right?
Yeah. I don't remember what the number is, but like I remember reading one time that there's more like you get more money from the small businesses than you do the larger corporations.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't think that because there's so many more small businesses, yet we're so like undermined, right? And like Michelle said, we have a voice. You have to use it. So that's another thing that we have to do better with, just in the Black community, is be more vocal. Stop having mouth for each other, guys, and use your voice and mouth where it needs to go, right?
Yes.
A question I have for you. Sole proprietorship versus incorporation. Does it matter when you're applying for grants?
Usually, no. Usually,
Okay.
for businesses, they'll usually recognize either forms of businesses or
Do
both.
you need to be registered? Like, do you have to be registered then? What if someone who's just free willy-nilly and not registered? Can they still apply for
If
some?
you're not registered, you can still apply. But I know, like, for example, with the starter company grant, you could be incorporated or a sole proprietor. What they needed was that you had a business bank account.
Mm,
That you
okay.
could show 6 months of revenue.
Okay.
So the legal structure was less important. It's the activities that you have. So if you don't have a business bank account, please, I beg you, please go and get one.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
go and get one. That is an important signal to someone that you're serious about your business.
Yeah.
Right?
I was speaking to a girl today and she said that she missed out, when they were handing out grants over COVID left, right, and center.
Yeah.
She missed out one because she didn't have a business bank account. And she couldn't understand why. I said, but because they don't know what money's coming in for the business and what money's going out for the business. So you can't show, that's not proof,
Yeah.
right? So I got another grant during COVID for the lounge. That one was pretty easy. That was a government grant for event spaces. It was $10,000 because we were shut down, and I had just opened like I think 2 months at the time. I was doing renovations and I applied for it. Nearly dead when I saw the money in my account. I was like, I just tried it. Somebody told me about it. I was like, no, I just opened up. I can't really show like anything. They didn't ask for proof or anything. So they didn't ask for anything. They're like, as long as you were open and you fell under one of these brackets of businesses that had to be shut down because of COVID.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't even I had the space. I just wasn't actively open because I was doing renovations. I applied. I was like, woohoo!
You had your rent agreement. That was proof. You had a commercial rent agreement.
Exactly. That's what they asked for. Yeah, I showed them proof of that, and I was like, yeah, I have that space, and and that happened quick. That was like within 3 weeks. But like they were handing out money like left, right, and center back then, right? So guys, make sure. I know it's a lot of work, but it's work that's worthwhile because you never know. Hopefully, this hot mess of COVID nonsense doesn't come back.
Right.
But if something were to happen, make sure that you're in a position to be able to grab it and go. Other question I have is time of year. So is there a certain time of year that more grants come out, like at the beginning of the year, end of the year? Like, is there a certain time that people should be looking out for grants more?
Yeah, great question. So the spring and the fall, that's granting season. The spring, so from now until April, maybe into May, and then September into early December. Those are granting seasons.
Okay.
So yeah, the time to be looking out, keeping your eye out, and then again in the fall.
Okay, good. You guys are taking notes. I hope you are. All right. Somebody was asking if this replay is going to be available. It's going to be available on YouTube. So if you are not following me, I highly recommend that you go over to YouTube. It will be posted by Saturday. So a lot of information. Thank you so very much, Michelle, for speaking with us today about grants. Michelle, you guys can help you with applying with your grants. Or if you want to apply for it and then send her a draft, she can also look over it. That is that's a paid service, right? It's a paid service. Okay, yes, yes. Nobody does anything for free now, guys. Okay, so but it's worth it because in the end, you know, you put yourself at a higher chance because this is what Michelle does inside and out. So she knows exactly how to scrutinize your application to make sure that, not to make sure, but to put you in a better chance of a bracket to get applied for, to get approved for. I'm hungry. I'm losing my senses. Okay, all right. So guys, thank you so much. Go and follow Michelle. Michelle, please tell everyone where they can find you.
Right. So IG MVD Consulting Inc. _. Also my web mvdconsulting.ca. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Definitely, yeah. Look forward to talking with meeting some of you who need some support with your grant writing or diversity, equity, inclusion support as well.
Perfect. And on Michelle's link in her bio, you can find a list of current available grants. Okay, guys. So better to ask Michelle because a lot of you guys come and ask me, and I'm like, no. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Thank you so much for your engagement. Thank you, Michelle, again, for taking the time to explain to us all the inside and outs of applying for grants. Guys, if you want to catch the replay, go to my YouTube at Sue Knows Business. It'll be posted by Saturday. And guys, if you haven't had a chance to, I'm offering the free How to Build Your Confidence online workshop happening on March 19th. The link is in my bio. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thanks so much, Suseth. Take care.
Bye. Bye. My daughter.